Hello everyone! I'm thinking of starting a new series where I'll be sharing some of the most interesting stories from ancient civilizations such as Egypt and Mesopotamia. We're talking about the myths, legends, and tales that people used to tell each other way back then, stories about gods, heroes, and everything in between. If you're into ancient history or just love a good story, hit the like button and tell me in the comments what you think. Adapa, the son of the god Enki, also known as Ea, lived in the ancient city of Eridu, where he served as a high priest and fisherman. Adapa was no ordinary human. He was granted great wisdom by his father Enki, who was the god of water, wisdom, and creation. Adapa's intelligence was so vast that he was able to understand the workings of the universe and the hidden mysteries of the gods. He knew the rituals and sacrifices that pleased the gods, and his devotion to Enki was unmatched. Under Enki's care and guidance, Adapa carried out his duties diligently, providing food for the temple and ensuring that the proper rituals were observed. One day, as Adapa was performing his daily task of fishing for the temple, the sea became wild and turbulent. The south wind, under the command of Anu, the god of the heavens, began to blow violently across the water, creating great waves that capsized Adapa's boat and threw him into the chaotic sea. Struggling against the raging waters, Adapa was filled with anger and frustration. In his fury, and using the wisdom granted to him by Enki, Adapa invoked a powerful spell and broke the wings of the south wind, halting its flow and calming the sea. For 7 days and 7 nights, the south wind did not blow over the land, leaving the seas still and silent. Anu, who ruled the heavens, noticed the strange silence of the south wind and began to question what had caused such a disturbance. When he learned that it was the mortal Adapa who had halted the wind, he was filled with both anger and astonishment. A human stopping the divine wind of the heavens. This act of defiance could not go unchallenged. Anu summoned Adapa to his court in the heavens to answer for his actions and to explain how a mere mortal could interfere with the workings of the divine world. When Adapa learned that Anu had summoned him, he was filled with dread. The thought of standing before the mighty Anu, the ruler of the heavens, was terrifying. But before he could ascend to the celestial court, his father Enki came to him with advice. Knowing the unpredictable nature of Anu and the dangers of the heavenly court, Enki instructed Adapa carefully. He warned his son that when he arrived in Anu's presence, the god might offer him food and water. Enki told Adapa that he must not eat or drink anything that was offered to him, for it would be the food of death, and consuming it would bring about his doom. Trusting his father's wisdom, Adapa vowed to follow Enki's instructions. With this advice, Adapa began his journey to the heavens, accompanied by the messengers of Anu. As he ascended to the celestial realm, he passed through the gates of heaven and was brought before the throne of the great Anu. The other gods, including Dumuzi and Gizida, were present in the court and marveled at the sight of a mortal standing before them. Adapa's humility, wisdom, and calm demeanor impressed them greatly, and they spoke favorably of him to Anu. Anu, intrigued by this human who had dared to halt the south wind, questioned Adapa about his actions. He demanded to know why Adapa had broken the wind and interfered with the natural order of things. Adapa explained his reasons. The south wind had thrown him into the sea, endangering his life and disrupting his sacred duties. In a moment of desperation, he had used the wisdom that Enki had granted him to protect himself and stop the wind. Adapa spoke with honesty and humility, acknowledging the god's power and explaining that his actions were not out of malice, but necessity. Anu listened to Adapa's words and, instead of punishing him, began to admire the mortal's bravery and wisdom. In fact, Anu was so impressed that he decided to offer Adapa an extraordinary gift. Anu ordered that the food of life and the water of life be brought before Adapa, intending to grant him immortality. This was an honor reserved for the gods themselves, and by partaking of these divine gifts, Adapa would live forever, free from the clutches of death. But Adapa, remembering the words of his father Enki, refused to eat the food or drink the water that was offered to him. He politely declined, believing that the food and drink were traps that would bring about his demise, just as Enki had warned. Anu was stunned by Adapa's refusal. Why would this mortal, who had been granted the incredible opportunity for immortality, turn it down? The gods present in the court were equally baffled by Adapa's actions. Anu, now both amused and frustrated, could do nothing more for Adapa. He had offered him the greatest gift any human could receive, and yet Adapa had rejected it. In the end, Anu allowed Adapa to return to Earth, but without the gift of immortality. Adapa descended back to the mortal realm, unaware that he had been deceived. Enki's warning had been a lie. He had misled Adapa, telling him that the food and water of life would bring death, when in fact they would have granted him eternal life. By refusing Anu's offer, Adapa had unknowingly passed up the chance to become immortal and remain forever free from the burden of death. Back on Earth, Adapa resumed his duties as a priest, but the knowledge of what he had lost haunted him. He had been endowed with all the wisdom of the gods, but even that wisdom had its limits. Though he was favored by the gods and protected by Enki, he could not escape the fate of all humans, mortality. Adapa's story became a symbol of the human condition, blessed with knowledge and wisdom, yet bound by the inevitability of death. In the years that followed, the gods continued to watch over humanity, but they never again offered the gift of immortality to a mortal. The tale of Adapa's missed opportunity was passed down through generations, reminding men and women of their place in the universe. The gods ruled the heavens, and the mortals, no matter how wise or powerful, were destined to live and die upon the earth. Adapa's legacy became one of tragedy, a symbol of how even the greatest wisdom could not overcome the limits imposed by the divine. And so Adapa's story, the story of the first man to touch the wisdom of the gods, served as a reminder of the fragile line between mortality and immortality, and the role that fate played in the lives of all living beings. Although he had walked among the gods and had been offered the chance to join them, Adapa remained bound to the earth, a mortal like all others, destined to grow old and die. But in his mortal wisdom, Adapa understood something that even the gods could not fully grasp: that there was a beauty in the brevity of life, a value in mortality that the gods, in their eternal existence, could never experience. He knew that to live and to die was part of the natural order, and that the wisdom he possessed was enough to guide him through the trials and tribulations of a mortal life. Even though he had been denied immortality, Adapa lived on as a legend, a figure of profound wisdom and tragic fate, whose story continued to be told for millennia. Through his life, the ancient peoples of Sumer and Akkad learned of the delicate balance between the divine and the mortal, and the ultimate truth that while knowledge could open the door to the mysteries of the universe, it could never escape the certainty of death.